Hi, everybody. Welcome to Am I the Asshole podcast. I'm Danny Vega, joined by a frankly flabbergasting guest today. It's with my great honor to welcome Dr. Jordan B. Peterson to the program.
Well, the pleasure is all mine.
It's really great to have you, Dr. Peterson. I've kept up with your work. I was a little surprised, this podcast is somewhat popular, but I was really, surprised when your agent kind of reached out and wanted to put this together. So thank you.
Thank you, Danny. I understand that this is a growing podcast, but believe me, it is what you're doing, Danny, is a wonderful thing. You're giving people a chance to engage in ethical dialogue. That's logos. There's a redemptive quality to dialogue, to conversation. And you, Danny, you are creating that within a community of people. Now, that is very rare. You understand that, don't you? You understand what you're creating.
I guess. I appreciate that. I guess I don't really think of it in such like kind of high-minded terms, but thank you. Just to give some background, just because some of our listeners, your audience is primarily male. The audience of this podcast is actually primarily women. So how would you kind of explain yourself to, someone who doesn't know anything about, Dr. Jordan B. Peterson?
I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm a proud Canadian. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I eat lamb meat. And mostly what I do is I seek the truth. And that's very rare these days. Now, Danny, about this lamb meat that I keep eating, and hello to your female listeners. Hello. Like I said, I have a daughter. I have a wife. I used to have many female members of my clinical practice, and they were very strong women, believe me. But what I wanted to do is talk about lamb meat. Have you ever had lamb meat, Danny?
Yeah, I think I've had it. It's kind of greasy, honestly.
I've lost 30 pounds. Only lamb meat. Oh my God.
That's all you eat is lamb.
My face, it's grown thinner. I was able to bench press 250. That was what I was able to do in my college years, Danny.
I don't know. Do you interact? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, doctor.
The other day I levitated. What were you saying?
No, just kind of the way you talk about women. It's a little, I don't know, just it kind of struck me, almost like you felt like you had something to prove. I guess I was just curious. Do you interact with, you interact with your wife and stuff, right?
Yes, but yes, I guess I don't understand the question, Danny.
No, I don't know. I probably just,
Do you interact with women?
Absolutely. All the time.
Did you usually do this from your darkened studio where you appeared to be living the life of a young Batman?
Yes, often, in video calls and whatnot. Yeah.
Well, very well.
Well, anyway, you were recently on the Joe Rogan podcast. A lot of people were talking about this. He's come under fire recently, but you're kind of a fan of his, or what's your kind of take there?
I consider him a good friend of mine.
Wow.
He is a psychedelic hippie, and people assume that he's out to change minds, and he's an ignoramus. People don't know what they're talking about, Danny. And I feel like people have a lot of preconceived notions, and they don't know what they're saying. I'll tell you that much.
Well, I listened to the interview. I thought it was a good interview. Do you, when you go and you do a podcast, are you trying to promote something, or what's kind of your view on what you're doing? Because you're kind of a serious guy, right? Like, you're a social psychologist, and then you're there with a comedian, Joe Rogan. It just seems a little kind of off kilter to me. Like, what's kind of your intent there?
Well, I go where there's interesting conversations to be had. It's why I'm here with you, Danny. People did ask me why I was going on Danny Vegas podcasts, and I said, well, have you seen his YouTube clips? Have you seen him on TikTok? This man is seriously funny. You're seriously funny, man. Seriously funny. You know,
Really?
I watch your clips and I'm like, is he really gonna go there? Is he really gonna say
Do I go there?
that? You do. You attack sacred cows, Danny. It's seriously funny, I swear.
I
And
attack. Okay, yeah.
and
Go
the
ahead.
sacred cows, of course, you think, well, what does that mean? That's the golden calf of the Israelites. Now, what is the job of a comedian but to puncture these sacred cows? And by that, it frees the Israelites to see the truth that these are not the things that we are supposed to worship and to protect. In fact, it's the exact opposite.
Right.
And that's what you do as a comedian, Danny, and a podcaster, and a man who lives in an all-black house, apparently, with no windows. I don't know what is going on over there, but you should get some sunlight, Danny.
I
And
really
this is
should.
coming from a Canadian. I don't get much sunlight, but you got to let the rays in.
I think I do. Something to work on.
Well, we all have something to work on, Danny. But you, it's not comedy because you're killing it, man. I'm seriously funny.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. That's very kind. Now you did say, and your agent mentioned, I don't know how much you want to share, but that you've written 2 books. I believe it's 12 Rules for Life was your original book. Then you did another 12 rules, but now I don't know. Your agent kind of mentioned something. You have more rules you're coming out with. Is that right?
It is right. You know, the ABC always be selling or whatever is the expression of. In fact, actually, Danny, I've got an exclusive. We're coming up with 12 new rules, but I've got some in the fire right now. I'm cooking with gas here, Danny. Do you mind if I shared my new rules for life, Danny? A few of them?
Oh my God, that would be incredible. Yeah, I would love that.
So we're still finagling with the titles. The first one, of course, was 12 Rules for Life. The next one was the Apocalypse of Doom. I'm sorry, I've been taking a lot of benzodiazepine. I forget the own titles of my book. Beyond Order, that's the name. But here we go. The new rules for life. The first rule that I've been thinking about this for a while, and it finally came to me, Danny. It is find a good chair to ponder your existence in.
Okay. Yeah, I did read one of your books, and I guess what I was really struck by, right? Because like the rule would be something very simple, like clean up your room to get your life in order. So there's like a much deeper kind of meaning. What was the kind of meaning behind this? It seems like a good share. So I guess I'm not seeing it, Doctor, but like what does this really mean?
Are you familiar with reflection, Danny? Have you ever looked yourself in the mirror and really done a good examination of your ups and downs, your ins and outs, your flaws, your asshole, things like that, Danny? Have you ever looked at yourself in the mirror and really reflected?
Yeah, I think so. I guess less, I think a lot about my behavior and like other people and how it affects other people. I mean, I'm still working on it.
Now imagine you're sitting down.
Okay.
Gonna need a good chair for that, Danny. A real good chair. And you can get all the chairs at the Jordan Peterson website as well. I sell a lot of good existence pondering chairs.
This is on your website. You actually sell these chairs as well.
Oh, yes, that's real, Danny. That's realer than real. That's meta-real.
The chairs are more real than real.
You betcha.
And, okay. Well, thank you. That's super clarifying. Are there more rules you can share? I mean...
Absolutely, Danny. Another rule. Rule number 2. Do not squander your time gallivanting with people you wouldn't introduce to your granny.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I think I kind of understand this one a little better. So the idea is like, don't hang out with like morally questionable people. And, your grandmother is classically, someone you respect and you're very like, there's decorum around and things like that. Is that kind of what the aim of that is?
The aim in life is to be truthful, to be honest, to be yourself no matter who you're with. Now, if you're going around with dice players and people that like to smoke weed, then you bring them home to your grandmother, and what would she think? She drops her porridge and she says, Jordan, get out of my home. And then you go off to Canada and become a clinical psychologist, and you ask yourself, well, I do miss my grandmother's porridge, and I miss being her grandson.
Okay. Yeah, I think these are really good.
Rule number 3. Never waste your dollars on the Fast and Furious. That's a double meaning, Danny. That's a double meaning. Can you figure that one out?
So wait, is the first one the meaning? This is a reference to the movie, The Fast and the Furious,
Including the spin-offs Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay, so don't waste your money on literally the movie. So this is like a pun, and then the Fast and the Furious. I guess that refers to people who are kind of not reflecting. They're just kind of going, and they're maybe angry. Okay, yeah, it's kind of punny. I didn't really expect that from you, but that's okay. That could be a good rule. Sure.
All these rules have deep intonations of meaning.
Okay.
The next rule. Wake your children up every day to the clanging of pots and pans.
Wow. I'm really anxious about this next rule here. But you're here, so let's just go ahead and say it. This is
Beware of scantily clad women and others.
okay. I guess this strikes me as I'm going to be frank with you, doctor. And again, I'm honored to have you here, but beware of scantily clad women. I don't really understand. This is kind of painting. This feels like victim blaming. I'm really honestly not comfortable with this rule.
Are you familiar with the term femme fatale, Danny?
I mean, yeah, isn't that kind of like a movie thing, like a...
Oh, it's more than fiction, my friend. And you'll soon find out. Once your podcast blows up, you will be in the company of many scantily clad women and others, Danny. Believe me, you're taking the role of an archetypical hero, and the only antidote for scantily clad women and others is responsibility.
I guess
You have a moral obligation, Danny. Discover that you're dangerous. Realize that, and with that, you have great power. Believe me. We live in a material world, Danny.
Yeah.
And be aware of material girls. Madonna said that. Madonna.
Okay.
Madonna.
Yes, right. Madonna said that. Let's just move on past this rule, doctor. I don't know. I know you're still kind of drafting these. I think maybe that one's a cut. That's just my opinion. What do I know? I'm just a small time podcaster, but just, I don't know. I don't think that one's ready to go.
Next rule. Never wear leather when jogging.
Okay. I mean, okay. See, I guess this seems like a good rule, but then it seems very literal. So I guess I thought there was supposed to be like a deep meaning.
Well, have you ever experienced chafing, Danny?
Yeah, no, I think it's a good rule, doctor. I just don't really understand. I thought, you were going to write a whole chapter about each rule, right? So is there really legs there?
Well, there's very legs. I mean, if you're running, there are certainly legs, Danny.
Okay.
Chafing happens no matter what. You were talking about sacred cows later, and leather comes from cows, right? We must remember that when we're running, we're going through space and time. This conversation is happening between space and time. Whenever something interesting happens, it elevates us. Correct. Now that's true. That's technically true. Now you must remember that when you're jogging and you're wearing what is known as a sacred cow on your body, you look great. Don't get me wrong. People that wear leather, they look fantastic. But what happens when it rains, Danny? What happens when it's very warm and stretchy and it gets dry? Now, this isn't just happen to do with running, literally, but it does mean literally. I'm also talking figuratively. We must shed the skin like a snake, but we're cows, and shed our leathery skin and become youthful, put lotion on ourselves, and realize that when we're out in the sun, we should wear what is known as running gear. And running gear, I don't mean running gear, but I mean running gear.
Okay. You're such an intellectual. It's just sometimes I don't, I guess, thank you. Are there any more rules?
Yes. Now this one's very personal to me. The next rule for life. Suspend your body like a bat. Drape your blanket around you like wings, and when someone knocks on your door, shout, "Who dares disturb my slumber?" I'm still working on that one, Danny. I'm still not totally there.
You're still working on that one.
Yeah, well, actually, that reminds me of the next one. This is something that I've actually been toying with for... I actually just realized this, and I've been working on this idea for 7 years, Danny.
Yeah.
This is a rule for life that I feel it in my soul, Danny.
Okay. Wow. I'm so excited.
Human clothes on an animal is always funny.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Absolutely, doctor. Absolutely. Thank you for that. And yeah, I appreciate, I appreciate the fact, if nothing else about your work, that, intellectualism is fading in this country. And I think you are, you're an educated man. And I think, I might not agree with you on everything, but at least I think you are making people think, and that could be a good thing.
Now, Danny Vega. Now, where's Vega come from?
It's Spanish. I've looked it up. It technically means like meadow.
Meadow. Oh, that's very nice.
It's just a name. I like the way my name sounds. A lot of people like it. They say Danny Vega. Is that a real name? One thing I've noticed about you, doctor, it's always, you like to really use your middle initial there. You kind of hit that hard. Jordan B. Peterson. Your agent was very adamant. Make sure he's identified as Jordan B. Peterson. Well, what's with the B? You don't want to I don't even know what it means. But yeah, I always see Jordan B. Peterson. What's up with that?
Well, I realized that I have a creed, Danny, and I'm also a fan of the franchise Creed, starring Michael B. Jordan. My name is Jordan.
Oh.
Michael is not really Peter, but it's a first name. Jordan B. Peterson, Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, that's
It
nice.
seems like a fine young man.
That's very nice, doctor. That's very sweet. You have a way of kind of taking something very simple and just going very deep with it. And I think that is why I have found a lot of your analysis and talks to be compelling to listen to.
Well, like I said, I don't know what I'm saying. When I speak, I don't know what will come out of my head, but then I think about it more and I keep talking. In fact, I have gone without not talking for 27 hours before. There's 10,000 hours, they say, to become proficient in something, and perhaps I will come up with brand new undiscovered truths that even I'm not aware of if I keep talking, Danny. And that usually means not letting the other person talk when they're trying to speak, and that's just something that I'm willing to deal with. So forgive me, Danny, and I don't mean it personally, but I think that my ideas are probably more, how do you say, I'm manifesting a very dangerous presupposition sometimes, and I must go into the unknown and find the redemptive quality of conversation between the chaos and order and walk like a tightrope over top of it. Why, Danny? Why would you say would I do this? Well, is it because I'm a narcissist? No, that can't be it. Is it because I believe that my thoughts are more important than your thoughts? That can't be it either. No. Is it because when I talk, I like the sound of my own voice? That's closer to the truth, Danny. I have a very particular way of talking. It's almost like Kermit the Frog, and that's mostly what it is. It's mostly Kermit the Frog if you think about it, but I've also got a little bit of Granny too. When I laugh and sometimes I cry for no reason, Danny, I was watching the most beautiful concert the other day.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's because your name is Vega, but I was watching, are you familiar with the song Mambo Number 5, Danny?
Yeah, I love it. It's a great song, yeah.
I was watching that live, and there's something about the way the performer just was able to speak and talk and sing, and we were all just enraptured by what was going on. Now, this wasn't the real Lou Bega. This was a karaoke show, but the person went on and it let us all believe and dance and think, and it was such a wonderful experience, Danny. Because the song Mambo Number 5, it seems like it's about a man gallivanting with a lot of women. But if you think about it, Danny, that's not what anybody really wants. If Lou Bega sat down on his contemplation chair and truly reflected, I'm certain that he would want all of Monica, not a little bit of her. And that is why I keep talking, Danny.
Wow. Okay. Well, I like that. That was nice. Yeah, I think I kind of read you on that. You know, the song is sort of promoting a player lifestyle, and so I think that's another interesting thing about you, Doctor, is that again, I really don't agree with a lot of what you say, but I do sense that you have integrity, and maybe your values are a little bit traditional. But look, I think monogamy has its place. So I think we can meet there. Absolutely.
Like I said, there's a lot of hedonism that I don't think is all the way necessarily wrong, but in a lot of ways it's wrong. And it's not, it's the abandonment of responsibility that I think is what is really the problem in the West right now.
When you say in the West, what are you talking about?
Well, I mean the Western society, Europe and America, Canada, North America, South America, China, Russia. I mean, if you go west enough, it becomes the entire world.
Right. Okay.
North, south, east, west. In my opinion, I mean, there's all sorts of wests if you think about it, Danny.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
There's Kanye Wests. There's
right.
Adam Wests. There's all kinds of Wests, Danny.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you, Doctor. AITA for refusing to give my cousin a pep talk and saying he's acting like an incel. So, I'm sorry?
I just hummed.
So I, 28M, have a younger cousin, Daryl, 21M, who's on the spectrum. We're not super close, but our moms are sisters and lived fairly close by, and we've always gotten along fine. Yesterday, I was getting lunch with my mom and aunt, Daryl's mom, and she told me that Daryl egged a girl's house after she ghosted him. Are you familiar with this term, Doctor? Ghosting? You know about this?
I'm familiar with youth culture, yes.
I was pretty floored by this, as she was very nonchalant about it and acted like what he did wasn't that big of a deal. She noted how I've been rejected by plenty of women, as I was kind of short and nerdy growing up, and that I could give him a big brother pep talk. I was slightly insulted by this, as I've never once acted like a crazy person to a girl. The worst I've done to a girl that rejected me is send a slightly cringy but never threatening text or be cold at a party. I told her that I thought this was way above my pay grade, and while I still love him, he seriously needs counseling. She agreed that therapy might be a good idea, but I could help him with dealing with rejection. I told her that he was being an incel, and while I've been rejected by girls, I've never been that. She got angry at me and said I shouldn't call her son that. The rest of lunch, we ate in silence. I think I might be the asshole because my mom said that everything I was saying was true, but calling him an incel was unnecessary. I just think it's really weird and messed up that my aunt is yet to punish my cousin and feels more sorry for him rather than trying to get him the help he needs, and someone needed to be brutally honest with her.
Now he's throwing eggs. Now eggs, of course, they come from chickens. Now if you think about it, Danny, he's been rejected. He's been, in a way, castrated by this woman. Figuratively speaking, not literally, but that is technically true. Now, what does he do? He throws an egg. An egg is getting laid? He's not getting laid, Danny. It doesn't take a Freudian psychologist to understand what is happening here. Now, OP, however, grew up short and nerdy.
Right. The OP, was short and nerdy, but he never kind of turned to these like angry retributions against women. All he had ever done was send a cringy text.
Now, this might be a little dark, but are you familiar with the comedian Weird Al Yankovic?
Yes, I'm a big fan. Yeah, I like him a lot.
I don't know why I went on tangentially, but it does remind me of that song "White and Nerdy." Now that is very funny. That's very dark. It's very dark, but it's very funny. Now, what men can do is laugh at themselves, right? That's what you do with your buddies, right? You laugh at them. That's why being able to laugh at yourself, now that is a wonderful thing. Now that helps move you up the hierarchy of friendship and society as well. Would you agree, Danny?
I guess. I don't know. I really try not to view things in too hierarchical of a way. I think you talk a lot about like dominance hierarchies and stuff. I don't know. I guess I kind of feel like we're humans and we work together. It doesn't really need to be so, alpha male, I'm better than you.
Well, I whether or not you want to see it, it is real, Danny, and it's happening all around you.
Yeah, I mean, but doctor, don't you think that's a little, reductive? I mean, I've heard you compare humans to lobsters and stuff. I mean, we're pretty complicated creatures, like,
you don't think that the lobster's complicated? Yeah, you try to live your life when people are trying to rip your tail off, Danny. Things get pretty complicated, believe me.
Okay. I mean, I guess I just feel that comparing humans to animals, I guess like maybe monkeys a little bit because they're kind of like us. But I don't know. You go all the way to a lobster, like it's a pretty different creature,
Well, Danny, in some civilizations, I'm sure that they'd like to eat you and I. Cannibals, Danny.
Yeah.
Cannibals. Now think about that. Yeah. Believe me.
Right. Well,
we become very much like lobsters when it becomes time to eat or be eaten. Believe me, we're in a bucket and we climb on top of each other, Danny. I've seen it. Have you ever read the Gulag Archipelago?
I haven't. No.
Well, it's some real lobstery shit.
Okay. Well, we like to also read some comments from the subreddit. This one here is by username allaboutbird. And they wrote, I mean, if he grew feathers and started quacking, you'd call him a duck. So I'm not sure why anyone is surprised or calling him an incel for acting like an incel.
I cannot disagree more.
Oh, okay. All right. That's surprising. You couldn't disagree more. So you don't. Yeah. Where are you?
I've been misquoted when it comes to incels, and I would just like to say, first off, if you're a man and all the women are rejecting you, who has the problem? It's not all the women. Let me just say that much. However,
okay. I like this. This seems kind of more progressive. Sorry, go ahead.
OP here, he is doing what is known as, are you familiar with the hero's journey, Danny?
Yeah, is that kind of like the story concept of, hero faces problem, hero addresses problem, hero overcomes problem, hero becomes stronger? Is that kind of...
Now, what is being asked of him? He's being asked by the two women in his life, will he help out his younger cousin? He's being asked to be a big brother, Danny. Now, what is a big brother? A big brother is someone who is a sibling. Well, yes, of course, but not really. What is a big brother? Someone who's older and wiser? No. Big brother, someone who, when the government watches you, yes. Now, anyway, he's being asked to help out someone who's younger than him, Danny. And he refuses the call. Why? Because he's what? He's throwing eggs? He has an issue. Did this man commit a crime? Perhaps. Does that mean that he's without redemption? He doesn't deserve to be helped out at all? What kind of... What... His aunt has every right to be upset with him. He's basically saying that this boy is a lost cause and I want nothing to do with him.
Just because he called him an incel?
He refuses to help out. And yes.
But he's trying to get the OP is trying to help the cousin, doctor.
Is he trying to help or is he trying to call names? Take no responsibility for the fact that it takes a village to raise an incel.
Okay. Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
his cousin might be acting like an incel, but the OP is acting like a a voluntary asshole.
that's very clever. That's very clever, I have to admit. But I guess, and I'm just a little concerned because, a lot of people do say that, you are kind of stoking the incel flames. Or how do you respond to these criticisms, doctor? I mean, look, there are men that are angry, you know.
Yes,
Are
but
you potentially fueling the fire a little bit with your rhetoric and some of the kind of things that people would classify as sexist that you say? Like, isn't that?
am I saying that incels should rise up and join the army of Jordan Peterson? No, but wait, what did I say? No, of course not, Danny. No, it's definitely not what I want at all. I think that these men need to grow up, but they also need a friend. They've been cast aside by society, by people like
Right.
OP here, and they said, "You are bad. You are without redemption. You don't deserve to even be spoken to after what you did." He was an upset man. These things happen. We make mistakes. Have you not made mistakes? Has All About Bird? Is her house, his or her house in order? How clean is that room before you can judge the world? I don't know. I don't know, Danny. Maybe I'm stoking the flames like you said. But I just think these men need someone to talk to them like human beings,
Okay.
because that's what they are.
Okay. Well, I like that. Yeah, I think, I'm all about communication and understanding and listening. And so look, I don't know if we're gonna see eye to eye here on the verdict. Now we get to the verdict, doctor. AITA for refusing to give my cousin a pep talk and saying he's acting like an incel. I mean, frankly, I don't really think it was necessary to call him an incel. I guess we kind of are on the same page there, but he was saying it not to the person directly, so he was kind of calling a spade a spade. And then I feel like the aunt, the mother of the incel, got very upset. I kind of feel like it's a no assholes here.
Mm. Well, you say tomato, I say tomato.
Okay, we're just gonna move on. AITA for not wanting to pay for my son's worthless degree. I have 2 kids. Both wanted to go to the university, one for business and the other for art. I'm not going to invest in a very expensive, worthless title. I've told both that this is an investment. I would expect some return from their part. Their return would be in 2 parts. Happiness for seeing my kid go through the university and master what they love. Both will give me this. Some return of the money I invested. Didn't give much detail, not expecting to get back anything really. I just want to make clear that this is a big investment on my part. I'm paying the university and I don't want it to be in vain.
This is a very tenuous situation. Now, I ask OP, is this possible for some sort of reconciliation, some sort of compromise? Say that Michaela came to me and she says, "Dad, I want to be a stripper." Now I would say, well, Michaela, I want the best for you, but I don't know that that's an appropriate thing to do with your life. Why not try to be a ballet dancer? But we would
Right.
compromise to where she's a belly dancer. Neither of us are happy, but at least there's some sort of way that I won't hate her and she won't hate me. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I don't even think I want to get into that and why you started talking about hating your daughter. I think that, I actually don't think OP is being that unreasonable. He is asking for good reasons. And I actually think, especially now that he's being very practical, there is a kind of brutality to it, but it seems like he's being a little harsh and a little bit too maybe by the numbers. But honestly, I think you really shouldn't get an art degree unless you have a good reason for it, because it's not gonna, like if you have the reason to learn about art and that's going to be very meaning for you, I think that's a good reason. But like, I felt like his son or daughter, I don't know what gender, but they couldn't really explain why the art was valuable to them. You're into art, aren't you?
Oh, I love art. My
Don't
entire
you?
house is covered in classical artists of Russian persuasion. I find it to be a fascinating and wonderful thing that we humans do. It kind of reminds me of The Lion King. Are you familiar with The Lion King, Danny?
Yeah, of course. Timon and Pumbaa, yeah, and Simba, yeah.
Now, Timon and Pumbaa, these are not good friends, Danny. Believe me. Now, they might seem like they're good friends, but Hakuna Matata is not a wonderful thing, okay? No worries? No, I don't think so. You don't have a life. Now, everybody leaves their home only to return to it again. Now, this young man, he's an artist. He needs to leave home. He needs to leave his tyrannical uncle, who is actually his father, and he must go out and discover the world and come back and enter the house of his father and become the rightful king again and destroy his tyrannical uncle and be who his father said he would be. Now that means you must make money doing this, Danny. Now that's not easy. It's a very tempestuous lifestyle. To be an artist, you would understand. You're a comedian. I'm sure you have very broke friends. Your Timons, your Pumbas, but no, Danny, you went out into the world and you came back and you made good with your old man. You remembered who you were. Now this man must go out and become this artist, but he must remember who he is as well. He must manifest that inside of himself and destroy the hyenas and his uncle and realize that the guilt that he had inside, that wasn't really him, was it, who got his father stampeded?
Yeah. I guess so. Bringing us back to the situation here. Oh, absolutely not right. A lot of that 90% is exploring other art forms as well, often media that isn't available to high schoolers. I work in marketing, and 100% of my jobs have worked extremely close with a graphic designer. They're well paid and can work in virtually any industry they want. I don't work with anyone who went to school for business.
I don't know if that's necessarily the correct path, but I mean, that's not to say that businessmen aren't. I think we know lots of businessmen who are very successful. A lot of business majors, they go on to have very successful careers.
Yeah, I mean, it seems a little ridiculous to me. You know, I think at this point, and dare I say, in this economy, I understand that OP is having concerns. I think you shouldn't pay a lot of money for an art degree unless you're going to find tremendous personal value in it, because you might as well just go start making art, which I feel like is a pretty exciting thing for a parent to tell you. That's kind of where I've left off here. AITA for wanting to pay for my son's worthless degree. I feel like OP's tone is very harsh, but it kind of felt like the art student got very mad and didn't really understand that maybe dad was being a bit too practical, but I didn't find it that unreasonable. I'm kind of leaning again. No assholes here. Are you with me, Doc?
Yes, I believe so, yes. Extraordinarily so.
That's great. That's great. So it's cool. We're learning that, you and I guess we share some things in common. Now, you actually sent me this situation. You wanted to cover this, which I thought was odd. Did you want to also read this one, or?
Sure, why not? Let's see. Let's get the old reading goggles out. I used to have a patient who used to talk about having beer goggles. Are you familiar with this term, Danny?
Right. Yeah. When you drink alcohol, you sort of have less judgment to, picking a partner. Is that kind of it?
Oh, yeah. Well, would I be the asshole if I asked my roommate to stop eating so much meat? I, 27F, live with two other males, 25 to 27-ish IDK, James and Alec, in a 3-bedroom house. We share a bathroom, which isn't great, but it's been okay for the most part. The issue has been actually developed recently. One of my roommates, James, has recently gotten into bodybuilding. He does MMA and other sports, and he's looking great. We're really happy for him. The only issue is that he has kind of migrated to only eating meat. I assume for the massive amounts of protein, as he also supplements with protein powders, which honestly, none of our business, that's none of our business, save for the fact that James is taking massive smelly shits a few times a day in our shared toilet. He just, ellipses, annihilates the toilet. It smells so bad, candles and sprays do nothing. You can't go in for a couple hours and you will gag at the smell. It's got to be his diet, which he recently changed from what I could tell to an all omnivore diet. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I would call an omnivore diet into only carnivore. He makes these truly giant hunks of... I'm sorry, Daddy.
No, I'm happy you're amused. You wanted to read it, so, this is great. This is very funny for you, huh?
I'm sorry, my sense of humor is sometimes very sophomoric. These truly giant hunks of meat every day in the broiler, larger than my head usually, and then he just eats it, sometimes with mashed potatoes, but mostly just the meat. It's, I think, unhealthy, but again, that's none of my business. This is more about the fact that I can't even enter my own bathroom without holding my nose. And I'm tired of seeing his shit streaks also. This isn't about the meat itself. It's meant I'm a meat eater, so is my roommate. It's just we vary our diet and don't propose the kind of eye-wateringly smelly shits whose smell will burrow into your psyche and ruin anything you're eating in the kitchen right next to the bathroom, so front row to stink shitsville.
I'm so happy you're getting enjoyment out of this, Doctor.
It's one thing to read it, it's another thing to say it. I just want to stop smelling his shit constantly. Would I be the asshole in this situation, or is this unreasonable? Oh.
Wow, you really got a kick out of that.
Oh. It reminds me of W.C. Fields.
W.C. Fields? Well, why?
Just very funny writing, Danny. Very funny writing.
Okay. Well, great. Look, I think it's nice to see this softer side of you. I guess I'm a little confused. I guess I feel like this OP is being a little ridiculous. I personally am a big advocate of having matches in the bathroom. I think this can solve any problem I've ever encountered in anyone's bathroom.
Well, Danny, when you eat as much meat as Michaela and I do,
yeah.
My wife has what's known as a no-fly zone. And what that implies, Danny, is that when my fly is down, she can still smell the havoc that's coming from my nether regions.
Oh, man. I'm sorry for her.
It's a truly horrendous smell, Danny. I mean, there's no antidote for that kind of chaos.
Oh.
If she's Cain, then I'm Abel. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. Oh, she's Abel and I'm Cain. The interplay between chaos and order. I mean, that's truly going into the unknown. Go ahead, Danny.
Well, I was going to say, I kind of noticed about you, you seem to have a real reverence for comedians, Joe Rogan and stuff. And I wonder, Jordan, if maybe you kind of don't want to be a comedian. Is that kind of there a little?
Now, why would you say something like that, Danny? Oh, I'm sorry. That's a rubber chicken.
Right. No, yeah, I got it.
Would I like to be a comedian? Well, in my clinical practice, I've been known to be quite the comedian myself. Well, just the other day, I had a patient who was going on and on about, I don't know, her divorce or something, and I was like, will you shut the hell up? It was really funny, Danny.
You said that,
really funny.
You said that's a client, Doctor?
Yes, but she didn't take it well, but that's cancel culture for you.
Okay. I think we're ready to wrap things up here. Thank you, Doctor. Really, thanks for coming on the show.
Well, you know what they say, Danny. When the aristocracy gets swamp ass, the working class dies of dysentery.
I've never heard that. But I guess if I were to leave you on, if I can give you advice, I don't know if that's really appropriate. But you know, you're older than me, you're more experienced than me. But I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe you should just be a comedian or do something. I don't know. You're such an authority all the time. You seem like you're kind of a silly guy.
Well, I think there should be more silliness in life, Danny. Wouldn't you agree? I believe that my words are like yarn or string. In fact,
Okay.
if I keep talking, it's almost as if silly string is coming out of my face. And that stuff lasts for a while. I don't know if you've ever had your house vandalized by silly string by teenage vandals, but, well, if I could add a little bit of silly string into this mortal coil, I feel that, well, that's not half bad. In fact, it's more than half bad. It's good.
Well, you know, you certainly do have a way with words, Doctor, and you know, I appreciate you sharing your insights and you know, your views and your opinions here. I appreciate it. I do. I think this has been good for people to kind of learn about you.
Well, I appreciate you giving us a chance to have a witty repartee.
Absolutely. Well, everyone I think knows where they can find you online. You're a very prominent figure. So yeah, I mean, is there anything you want to direct people to, your book or anything like that?
You can find my books. I'm writing a play. It's going to be 19 acts. It's going to be very long, Danny. I'm also writing a series of nursery rhymes for children because I believe that children need a chance to be told the truth because they can handle it. And I'm also selling pogs. So I've got quite a few things cooking in the oven, as it were.
Well, that's great. And your agent said here to tell people to follow you on Twitter at Ron_FLEM, Ron_Flem. So,
Yes.
well, Doctor, again, thanks a lot, and that's it. We'll see you guys next time.
Beware of snakes. Goodbye.